start the clap and the cheer and the whooping and the hollering, and we're going to bring on the next act. And she is a regular here at the Bright Club. I always feel smarter when she's been on the stage. So please start the clap and cheering. Go out crazy for me, Rosie. All right. I'm supposed to make you laugh tonight, so let's see how. So this is our world premiere, and I hope it's not a world laugh. And the thing is, I was supposed to be studying my notes for tonight, but I didn't. Because I had to write some grants this weekend to do research. So, as a good scientist, I will rely on my notes tonight. So, forgive me. So someone once told me that science is a career that will choose you, but it's a pity that will never choose me, or has never chosen me yet. So I started my career, and then I said that I'm in science, and at some point I said, oh yes, I also want to be a comedian. And everybody started laughing at me. Nobody's laughing now. And this is, I must quote this. This is from a famous comedian that is called Bob Monkhouse. I don't know if you know him, but as a good scientist, you always have to cite your sources. So, well, imagine when I discovered that I could do two things together. I could do science and I could do comedy. So when I discovered Bright Club, I was extremely happy because I found a place where I can be myself finally, where everybody will laugh at my nerd chemistry jokes. So this is when I wanted to say, to tell a good chemistry joke, but they are gone. You know that one when the Schrodinger cat walks into a bar and doesn't? Okay. Not even with my notes, come on. So, what I want to say. So yeah. Well, I need to do some therapy as well because I'm a bit shy, as you can see. And my therapist told me that I really struggle when I have to introduce myself to people and to audiences and to stuff. So my therapist told me, yeah, you need to practice more, so you should help. So I'm Laia. Hello. Thank you. Really helped. So yeah, I'm Laia and I work in Glasgow University and I do chemistry and I do research in chemistry. But tonight I would like to talk about the scientific method and why it's so important for scientists. So, well, I did a PhD, and well, when you do a PhD, well, you kind of think that you're smart, but you aren't. And then you work into academia, and then you do postdoc and everything, and then you know that at some point you need to get money you need to apply for grants to get money. So I'm more or less at this stage. And then, well, as I said, I wanted to talk to you about the scientific method and what is this method. It's basically a method to question the world, right? It's the method that we scientists use to question the nature and what's around us. So, basically, don't you hate it when someone answers their own questions? Well, I do. So basically what is a scientist is an ignorant with a method. And there is no getting around it. So I will guide you through the stages of. So first, you make an observation. Then second, you ask a question. Then you do some research. You have an hypothesis. You do some experiments. You have an analysis and conclusions, and then you share. And the first observation that you can make, for instance, is like an apple will fall from a tree, right? And you would like to understand why the apple falls from the tree, and then you sit under the apple tree, and then you observe. Well, I mean, that's more a physicist's job, but as a chemist, we will do something different, and we want to do molecules. And I am an inorganic chemist, And this is basically the chemists that play with all the periodic table, but carbon. Because those people who play with carbon are the organic chemists. And they're not that cool. Because basically what they do is just produce white powder that you can buy in any street Glasgow. We, in organic chemists, we do important stuff. So we check for magnetism, you know all these cell forms and everything. Just this is because an inorganic chemist was behind there producing the lithium batteries and testing it and everything. So just wait. And then, well, you ask a question, and the question in this case for the physicist could be why apples fall, but for a chemist would be I want to synthesize these molecules, so I want to put these atoms together, and I want to obtain some crystals. And then why you would like to obtain some crystals? Because you can shine some X-ray through them, and then you can, well, they produce a shadow, and then you can analyze this shadow, and then this will tell you where those atoms are around. And when you have this information, you can figure out which sort of molecule you have. This is one of the techniques that is called crystallization, single crystal crystallization, and this is very important to us. So basically, you have a bunch of people that are obsessed in making solutions, so mixing lots of elements in the periodic table in solution, and then they put them in those little vessels, and then you wait for crystals to appear. And this is a bit of an esoteric process, because sometimes the crystals can take 3 days to appear, sometimes a week, sometimes a month, sometimes they never appear. So you can imagine when you are a PhD and you have a time-limited funding that runs out after 3 years, and then you have some targeted compounds that you would like to obtain, you become a bit obsessed, I would say, with when and how and why you obtain certain crystals. So I don't know if you've ever been to a chemistry lab, but it's more or less like a kitchen. It's just a bit fancier than a kitchen, but there's a kitchen at the end of the day. And then you have places in your kitchen that are your favorite and less favorite. So in the lab, it happens the same. So some people become so obsessed that they just have this specific place near that window that they know that they will obtain the crystals when the moon is in crescent. And this is what happens. And others, maybe they know that if somebody in the lab wears a certain perfume someday, those crystals will appear. Because at the end, we are correlating the formation of your desired compound with whatever observables you have around. And so you make these strange observations. But because you so need that information to go through the next stage of your PhD, you become obsessed. So, and this is for real, like there's people that has specific places in their lab where to grow crystals. And this is true. And then, well, you've made your observations, you've done some research, and you form an hypothesis. So my hypothesis could be like, I just obtain those specific crystals when the moon is in that phase. Oops, good for you. And then you experiment, you gather more data, and then you do some analysis and you draw some conclusions. And well, everybody knows that there are two kinds of persons in this world. Those who can extrapolate from incomplete data, and the others. So basically, after lots of experiments, the scientists will have all the data organized and plotted, and we make nice graphs. And a friend told me that she once made a graph of the x-axis and the y-axis. And basically, you can draw some conclusions. So basically, my friend, she had like the Bob, Paul, and I don't know, Edward, I think was the guy. And then that's for the X. And then the Y is like, he didn't understand my chemistry jokes. Then I didn't understand his chemistry jokes. And then, final one, there was no chemistry. So, well, at the end, it's like the conclusion is when you are really tired of thinking, okay? And basically, that's it. So, we've you go back to apples. So my first first point of thesis is I think we finally figured it out what happened with apples and trees, that there is no chemistry as well. And that's me. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed.